Welcome to today's Explainer. I am incredibly excited to guide you through a truly profound concept today. We are exploring the ultimate transformation outlined in our source text, the exact moment when a seeker stops simply following a guide and actually becomes the guide. Now, if you've ever felt completely exhausted by constantly trying to find balance externally, desperately grasping at different habits or routines just to keep your head above water, well, this is absolutely for you. Okay, let's dive into this. We're looking at what it really means to stop walking in the shadow of dragons and to start walking as one. To really grasp this awakening, we're going to structure our journey across 4 clear steps: the dragon sight, the 3 powers, becoming the ledger, and finally, the dragon inquiry.
All right, part 1, the dragon sight, seeing beyond the chaos.
So this marks the first major shift where the teachings we've learned stop being external tools we have to constantly reach for, and instead they become our very own internal way of seeing the world. To really anchor this concept, we look to the wise mentor of our text, Zoran. He says, "The dragon is not outside you. The dragon is the part of you that sees truth without fear." What's really interesting here is how this completely demystifies things. A dragon isn't some mythical, supernatural beast you're trying to roleplay. Not at all. It's simply the ultimate psychological archetype for fearlessness. It's a dormant part of your own psychology that is finally ready to be awakened. Let's ground this mystical terminology into some practical reality. Because what does it actually look like to walk as a dragon in everyday life? Well, it basically means seeing both sides of every single experience, recognizing the timing of destiny, and most importantly, collapsing heavy emotional charge quickly. Now, you might be wondering, what does it look like to actually collapse an emotional charge? Imagine getting a completely infuriating, unfair email from your boss. The standard human reaction? You spiral into panic, complain to your coworkers, and carry that awful knot in your stomach for 3 whole days. But walking as a dragon means you process that initial sting, you extract whatever necessary feedback actually exists in the message, and then you let the anxiety completely evaporate within minutes. You just remain entirely centered. Most of the time, we live in human perception, and let's be honest, it is an exhausting, frantic state of mind. We see isolated events. We get stuck in maddening traffic, deal with abruptly canceled flights, sudden heartbreak, urgent crises, and infuriating detours that just ruin our carefully laid plans. It feels so fast, it feels urgent, and it literally feels completely out of control. But step into dragon perception, and the storm just clears. You don't see random chaos anymore. You see the deep, steady rhythm of the universe. You see natural corrections. You see perfect destiny. We move away from that frantic knee-jerk reaction and slide into a calm, resonant flow with the Tao. Moving on to part 2, the 3 powers: clarity, balance, and breath. As we transition into the actual mechanics of this transformation, we find that 3 specific powers awaken within you. Power 1 is clarity. And this isn't just about thinking clearly or, making a good pro and con list. It is an energetic sight. It's the profound ability to find the hidden architecture beneath our absolute worst crises and pain. Think about how we usually react to detours. We're gripping the steering wheel, aggressively refreshing the GPS app, totally fuming about lost time, right? Well, clarity allows you to see the actual destiny inside what looks like a detour. It's that sudden realization that you were delayed for a very specific reason, maybe protected from a hazard you couldn't see or positioned exactly where you needed to be. Then we have power 2, which is the power of balance. As humans, we are heavily addicted to our stories. We terrified of sorrow, we constantly chase the adrenaline of the rise, and we let our egos massively inflate under success. But true balance? It means you no longer worship joy, you no longer resist the fall, and you absolutely don't collapse when a crisis hits. It is so crucial to understand here that true balance is not just passive neutrality. It doesn't mean feeling numb to the world. It is a state of active mastery. Imagine getting a massive personal victory, like a life-changing promotion. Instead of losing your head in arrogance or manic excitement, you stay deeply grounded, recognizing that this new height will eventually require new responsibilities and inevitable challenges. You are breathing with the universe instead of constantly getting swept away by it. Which brings us beautifully to power 3, the power of breath. I want you to think of the inhale, the rise, the expansion. When you walk as a dragon, you aren't just observing the universe intellectually anymore. You begin to feel the rhythm of it moving right through you. You can physically feel the universe breathing its vast expansion right into your very life. But the true test of the dragon is the exhale, the inevitable fall, the contraction. You see, a dragon seer accepts this contraction just as willingly as the rise. You don't panic when the exhale comes because you deeply understand that winter must always follow autumn. You realize that contraction isn't a punishment at all. It's just the natural, necessary heartbeat of reality, making room for the next breath. Zoran sums this up so perfectly. He says the universe breathes through you. When you walk as a dragon, you feel its rhythm in your bones. In this state, the entire illusion of separation just vanishes. We aren't observing the Tao from the outside looking in. We are an active, beating part of its cosmic pulse. Let's move to part 3, becoming the ledger, shifting from manual to intuitive. Throughout a seeker's journey, they rely heavily on tools. Step 1 is often pretty grueling manual work. Imagine facing a harsh rejection. At first, you have to literally sit down with a pen and force yourself to list out the polarities, digging through the pain just to find the hidden gift. Step 2 involves manually analyzing your experiences over and over again, just to collapse that heavy emotional charge. But here's the magic. If you do this work consistently, repeating it hundreds of times, your brain literally rewires. And that brings us to step 3, the breakthrough. That slow, grueling analysis simply dissolves. Balance becomes pure instinct. Symmetry becomes entirely intuitive. It all comes full circle with what Zoran tells the traveler. The ledger is not a book. It is a consciousness. You are the balance you seek. Meaning the ultimate goal isn't to be a lifelong student dependent on a journal, a specific meditation technique, or a guru. The goal is to become the living, breathing embodiment of the framework itself. You no longer need the tool, simply because you have become the tool. So let's bring these lofty spiritual concepts right down to the pavement. What does walking with presence, insight, strength, and tenderness actually look like on a random Tuesday afternoon? Well, it means maintaining your center when someone aggressively cuts you off in line at a crowded grocery store. It means responding with profound tenderness and clear insight during a really tense, frustrating dinner with a difficult family member rather than snapping back. You're walking slowly, deliberately, and consciously. You move courageously through the world, and you lead with compassion. Which brings us to our final section, Part 4, the Dragon Inquiry, your 15th entry. We are entering the final integration of this explainer, and this is where you apply all of this directly to your own life. But before I ask you the hard, unflinching questions that are required for this kind of transformation, I really want to anchor you with Zoran's final, empowering comfort. He says, you are not alone. Dragons walk beside those who walk in truth. So take a deep breath. Keep that courage in mind and really feel that support as we go through these final prompts. Question 1. I want you to ask yourself directly, what truth am I ready to see? Think about the reality in your life that you've been hiding from. What relationship, what career path, or what destructive internal habit have you been turning a blind eye to? Find the courage to finally look at it clearly. Question 2. What polarity am I ready to balance? Really look at the extremes in your life right now. Where are you addicted to the frantic adrenaline of the high, or maybe drowning in the despair of the low? What desperately needs to be brought back into the quiet center? Question 3. What destiny am I ready to accept? This is a challenge for us to stop fighting reality. Can you surrender your ego's desperate plan and just trust the architecture of what is actually unfolding? We have to stop looking at roadblocks as mere detours and start seeing the hidden perfect timing at play. Question 4. What fear am I ready to release? Identify that heavy emotional charge you've been carrying around maybe for years. What old narrative is keeping you small that you are finally completely ready to just drop? And finally, question 5. What part of me is ready to awaken? Please don't just let this be another explainer you watch and forget. I challenge you to grab a pen and actually write these answers down as your own final entry into the ledger. The shadow has passed. It is time to step out into the world and start walking as a dragon today.